So a lot of people have reached out to me on social asking how I got to where I'm at, the first steps that I took. And I wanted to make a video going back a little bit, giving my story, because every story has a beginning. And hopefully I can give you some tips to be able to apply that to your own venture as a young and budding film composer or media composer. Before we begin, I want to talk about my film scoring masterclass. I've made it available for purchase via Udemy. You can actually click on the link below to access the discount code. The video is comprised of 5 small vignettes. We talk about orchestration, themes, motivic development, modulation, meter change, communication, building relationships with directors and producers, as well as analyze a score. And I hope that tool is helpful to you on your creative journey. I grew up in a small town. I wanted to be a professional musician. In high school, I picked up the electric bass, and that became my primary instrument. I was really into fusion and jazz, so I wanted to study the workings of that music so I could play it. I picked up the acoustic bass in college and actually hold a jazz studies degree on acoustic bass. And for the next 5 or 6 years after that, I traveled as a sideman and as my own leader of my own band, playing my music and playing other people's music. And everything was great until I injured my arm. I have tendinosis in my left hand, and I also have tennis elbow in both of my arms. So I wasn't able to play anymore. And the other thing that I loved other than music was film. And so I just wanted to be a film composer. I just decided I can't play anymore, but I can at least write music and have some kind of creative art form expression. So I didn't know how to go about doing that. I'd never recorded anything. I never knew anything about computer music, about MIDI, about synthesizers, about anything, honestly. So I actually went on a Facebook group and met a filmmaker through that Facebook group. I didn't have any understanding about how to get gigs as a film composer. I knew I liked music. I knew how to write music. I didn't know how to do it though for film or mixed media. So what I did was approach it like a musician would. Musicians go to jam sessions to get gigs and to hang. And so I thought, okay, well, filmmakers, they have some kind of jam session. And so I went on a Facebook group and I found this local film kind of society. And I saw that a filmmaker was playing a film at a little small art house theater. So I went, and then I gave him my business card, and we went out and got drinks and just chatted. And I developed a relationship with this director. And I did that for a couple years until I kind of established a group of people that I worked with continually. And sometimes they paid, sometimes they didn't. The goal was just to develop my own kind of reel and repertoire, and to also study and understand this art form. So it was a lot of hands-on, on-the-job type of things. Ultimately, obviously that approach won't work for everyone, but it worked for me. And I can remember 2 important moments in my compositional journey. So as I was developing relationships, I actually scored a 48-hour film festival film with that first director that I'd met. And I was at the screening and I met some other directors from that director. And from those directors, I ended up meeting a really close director that I work with now. And from that director, I scored a film and it went on to play at like 70 or 80 film festivals. It was a lot. And that's when I started kind of branching out and developing newer relationships with directors outside of my city. And the only way that I was able to meet the director to score that film that went out to go travel was because I started all the way back at this first director. Was from him to him to him to him. It's a whole Kevin Spacey thing. Is it Kevin Spacey? I don't know who it was. Is that appropriate anymore? I don't think so. Who was it? Kevin Bacon. That's right. It's like the whole Kevin Bacon thing. I may cut this out. I probably won't because it's funny. And that's the first one. And the second point was there's this director that I knew from a friend at church, and he more of a producer at this point, but he knew a friend who was a director out in Los Angeles that was working on a documentary that needed a score at some point. And so he gave me her number and I reached out to her, and she was nowhere near ready to have a score for her film. So what I did actually over the next 2 years, as I was developing my repertoire as a composer with these local filmmakers. I was also reaching out to this director to touch base with her about her film. And finally, after 2 years of emailing this person kind of every 3 to 6 months, she responded and said, actually, I am in a position where I need score. And I was like, yes, I finally got this job after 2 years of kind of just persistence. And she said that I'd like you to audition. And at the time, I was really kind of bothered by it. I was like, I've emailed you, I've done all these things, why haven't I got this gig yet? And then it clicked. Evan, she doesn't know you. She's not friends with you on a deep level like these directors that you've developed relationships with. She's trusting you with the music for her film. One of the most important parts of a film. It can make or break it. And after I realized that, she asked for 2 pieces of music, and I gave her 5. And I ended up landing that gig. And from that gig, there's been a plethora of documentaries that I've scored. The PBS documentary that I got to score back in 2018, I actually got from that director. It was a referral. So the main point of this whole video is to say, there is no this route, this route, this route. It obviously has to be conformed to your life and the rhythm of your life. I was able to really focus hard on film scoring, and I put a lot of energy on the front end to develop relationships, because I knew at the end of the day, that's what mattered the most. Going out, having drinks, going to screenings, continuing to develop relationships with people. And they're not just gonna give you a gig just because you can write music. They wanna know, do you know the way they think? Do you know the way they approach a scene? All these things are super important. And you'd only get to do that through developing that relationship. I was able to develop relationships with directors and producers at the ground level early on as I was building my career. And I did as much work as I could. Often it was free. And I did that for probably 2 to 3 years. And from that, the relationships just continued to grow, and the projects that I had continued just to get better and better. And people think that there's this magic secret formula, and there's not. It's just hard work and perseverance. So finally, I'm going to talk about networking, branching out outside of your little bubble. Once you've created these kind of core groups of people that you work with, you need to expound to other kind of core groups. That's just how businesses work. And I did that through film festivals. Pre-COVID, I traveled a lot for films. Whenever a film got into a festival, I would make a plan, and I would kind of book everything in advance, and I'd go for 3 to 5 days to a festival, and I would honestly see as many films as I could, and I would connect with as many people as I could. And I would do that because I wanted to meet new people, but also to work with new people. And I approached it like a musician would going on the road. When you go to a new city to play a new venue, you want to develop fans and have those people be in your corner. And so that's kind of how I approached it with film festivals. I would meet as many people as I could, and I would be the fan for them. I would, develop relationships with them and watch their movies. And through those relationships, that's even led to even more work. Now, obviously, there's a lot of cost in traveling. Some festivals, I did a festival that cost me over $2,000 to go to, and then some festivals I went as cheap as like $150 because, I found a flight for like $40, and then I ended up staying there for free because I knew someone in the city that I was in, or things like that. The risk reward payout is great in the long run. I have had film festivals where I've made over $20,000 return after the fact, after my travel expenses. And then I've had some that I've not had a return on, but at the end of the day, it's a write-off. Since COVID, I haven't been able to travel, so I've been doing a lot of social media content and developing relationships with directors and producers via Instagram, Facebook, Vimeo, kind of all these other different revenues of social. It's crucial to continue to push forward and to try to develop new relationships as much as you can. But also, don't forget the relationships you already currently have. and continue to cultivate those. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope this was helpful to you. Like I said, there is no secret sauce or magic bullet that will take you from wanting to be a film composer to being an established film composer. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of steps that go into it. And obviously this worked out for me. This may not work for you, but I hope that there are some little steps that you can use and take from to help you on your path. You can click the link above for previous videos that I've done in case you've missed any. I talk about tempo changes, scoring with an analog synthesizer, creating mood with synthesizers, string plugins, as well as my shipping container build video. So many different things. So if you enjoy this content, feel free to check those out as well. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate all of the comments and all of the kind responses that you all have given. If there's a video that you'd like me to do, please comment below. Please subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you all next time.